This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
What's up, Detroit sports fans? Welcome to the Fan Report, a show made by fans for fans, powered by the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. I'm Nick, and with me is Andrew's going to give us this week's topics.
Should the Lions have made a play at Julio Jones? I don't know. This is not jealousy. This is a serious question. We also have a buy or sell on some Pistons offseason predictions, and we bring back Tankathon yet again. It's Fan Report.
So obviously, the big news of this past weekend was the Tennessee Titans trading for Julio Jones to add to their already.
My dad likes to call him Julio Jones.
To add to their already illustrious offense that boasts Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown, who were, if not the best at their position last year, were easily top 10, maybe even top 5, and I'm more so talking about A.J. Brown than Derrick Henry because he was clearly the best. There were rumors about the Lions potentially trading for Julio Jones because there is a glaring need at wide receiver for the Lions this upcoming season, and whether or not that was and we'll get into whether or not that would have been a move that we think the Lions should have done, how it would have affected their team, their status this year, or their rebuild for the future. But I also kind of want to ask you, and I'll give my thoughts as well. Does making a move like this, and I'm going to tie this into maybe the Lions will be in a similar position in 3 or 4 years as the Tennessee Titans, a perennial playoff team, competing for division championships, competing in the playoffs. I believe they made the AFC title game, not this past year, but the previous year. Do you think that the Titans trading for Julio Jones puts them over the top? Does it make them the team to beat in the AFC? Are they automatically Super Bowl contenders with Julio Jones added to that roster?
First of all, you're going to be making the assumption that Julio Jones is going to be healthy.
Well, okay, Julio Jones,
a good portion of the season, because he hasn't been.
No, but Julio Jones is a guy who will play hurt regardless.
True.
Granted, and a lot of times he was out there as nothing more than a decoy, but he's still productive even though he's been hurt.
No, that's very true. A.J. Brown is definitely the best receiver he's ever played opposite of. There's that.
You could argue Calvin Ridley's pretty damn good.
Oh, no, he is. I just think A.J. Brown's better.
I don't disagree. It's not like he also, didn't he have Roddy White for a while too?
He had Roddy White for a while. Yep.
Like, we're talking, he's had very good wide receiver partner. He's had very good wide receiver partners in Atlanta in his career. You know, Roddy White is no slouch. He's one of the greatest Falcons receivers in the history of that franchise.
I agree.
And Calvin Ridley probably will end up in that same conversation as well by the time his career is said and done.
I also agree.
So it's not like he's been playing alongside Mike Williams his career.
Not saying that. I'm just putting my stake in the ground here and saying A.J. Brown's the best receiver that he would have played across.
Isn't it a little too early to say he's better than Roddy White?
I mean, yeah, if we're going purely by stats, I'm just looking at the receiver himself
curious.
and saying
what did
that.
Roddy White put up in the years?
I actually don't know.
Julio was there because
I remember he was very effective in Madden.
Well, yeah. Because I'm curious, how many years did they actually cross paths?
Roddy White had a string of 6 straight years with 1,000+ receiving yards.
Right. So in Roddy White's season, Roddy White had his final Pro Bowl year in Julio Jones' rookie year.
Julio was drafted in 2010, I want to say, right?
His first year was 2011.
Yeah, okay.
So 2010, 2011. He had almost 1,000-yard season. Roddy White had a almost 1,300-yard season on 100 receptions. So Roddy White really had 2 top-tier wide receiver years, because you could argue his next season, although he didn't make the Pro Bowl for some reason, was even better, putting up 1,350 yards and 7 touchdowns on 92 catches in 2012. So Roddy White had 2 really good years with Julio Jones. And then he kind of started to fall off from there, playing only 13 games in 2013, 711 yards. 2014, he had a solid season. 80 catches for 921 yards and 7 touchdowns.
And then And let's also not forget that Roddy White was like 30 when Julio Jones began starting on the Falcons, and
yes,
AJ Brown's
he
like
was
23.
30 and
it's the opposite
Julio's
dynamic, basically.
Yes, it is.
But either way, to my point, I don't necessarily think adding wide receiver is what makes you a Super Bowl contender. But I will say that I do believe the Tennessee Titans are the second best team in the AFC behind Kansas City Chiefs. That offense
I'm
rivals
not, okay.
Kansas City.
I'm not ready to say that they are the second best team in the AFC.
I was ready to say it even without Julio.
I'm not, because I think Buffalo is better than them.
You could argue that.
I think Buffalo on both sides of the ball are better than Tennessee Titans. Both sides of the ball. Even still, offense is a lot closer, and you can definitely make an argument for Tennessee's offense being better. Mm-hmm. But the quarterback edge that Buffalo has is a big jump. Mm-hmm. And if Stephon Diggs can put up a similar year to what he had last year, I mean, you can argue that he's every bit as good as A.J. Brown or Julio Jones at this point. But the running game for Tennessee is obviously better. However, the quarterback play is what the big difference is between the two teams. On the offense side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball, the Buffalo Bills are probably a far better team. So that's why I'll take Buffalo over Tennessee. Even still, I would take Buffalo over Tennessee. And I'm going to sit here and say that Tennessee was already kind of one of the contenders in the AFC in my book. They're not one of the top two teams, but they're probably at the top of that next tier. I don't think this really moves them beyond that, though, because I don't think they quite jump Buffalo for me because of the fact that, I personally don't believe adding a wide receiver when you already have a top flight wide receiver, you have a top tier receiver in A.J. Brown, adding another one who also comes with question marks and is aging a little bit because of his age and his health, I don't think it puts him over the top. And it's very hard for me to find a wide receiver that they could have added to this team that's in this league and say that puts them over the top.
No, because again, in general, I don't think a wide receiver is what wins you a Super Bowl. Like the Tennessee Titans need a lot on defense. Tennessee Titans could still improve at quarterback. Not saying Ryan Tannehill is a bad quarterback, but
no, he's great. I don't think
he's a quarterback that's going to win you a Super Bowl.
No, not with the defense that they have now. No, he will not win. I think Ryan Tannehill could win you playoff games, could get you to a Super Bowl, maybe could win you a Super Bowl, but he's not going to be the reason it happens. Not week in, week out. He may have a really good game one week that gets you there, or in the big game, he may have a really good game. But week in, week out, he's not going to be the reason that you win these games. Not every time. Aaron Rodgers is a guy that you can rely on every time to win you these games. Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, guys like that are guys that you can rely on to win you these games week in, week out. Tannehill's not that guy.
No, I agree.
So for them to be that team to beat, I think they would have needed to upgrade the defense quite a bit more. So again, I struggled to find receivers in this league that you can insert into an offense that is that top of the next tier, so to speak, and say that automatically makes them championship favorites. Because I don't think a wide receiver has that much added value or that much added production and win value to a roster.
No, I agree.
I think a wide receiver is a luxury.
Like I was saying, I was just saying the Tennessee Titans are, I still think the second best team in the AFC behind Kansas City. You could definitely make an argument for Buffalo.
I definitely think I'd take Buffalo over them because of their balance on both sides of the ball in the quarterback
that's like without
play.
Julio is what I'm saying.
Right.
So
no, I agree. Like they are arguably second or third best in the AFC, no question. But I honestly, maybe they're fourth best. And there's another team, and one of my biggest examples as to why I don't think Julio puts them over the top is this exact team just a few years ago. The Cleveland Browns, just a few years back, brought in OBJ. What happened? They went 8-8. They had this dream team. It looked like, everybody's favorite. They were unbeatable. And they put up a dud.
OBJ did he get hurt that year too, or no?
I think he got hurt.
He's been terrible with the Browns regardless. I'm just saying.
I think he got hurt late in the year that year, maybe mid-year or something. But regardless, it wasn't good.
No, he got hurt in 2020. Never mind. He played all 16 games.
And he was terrible. So, but I think the other team in the AFC that I would put on a very similar plane, but I would say their defense is better, is Cleveland. You can make an argument that the Cleveland Browns are a better football team than Tennessee Titans right here, right now, with Julio Jones.
You could make that argument.
Because honestly, in terms of quarterback tiers, Baker Mayfield, Ryan Tannehill, probably on the same level. Maybe Tannehill's a little bit better. Maybe. Wide receiver tiers, yeah, I'm obviously going to give it to Tennessee. But running game, Nick Chubb's pretty damn good. Nick Chubb's pretty damn good.
Yes, but Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry's not as much of a factor in the passing game. Nick Chubb hit you on two folds, and then is Kareem Hunt still there? Did he return?
Yeah, I believe he's still there.
You add in the two-headed duo of Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb in that backfield. I don't know. I might take Cleveland's backfield over Tennessee's at that point because you have the pass-catching aspects of both guys to go with home run hitting rushing game. Yes, Derrick Henry is the best running back in football, but to have the ability to also throw the ball to a running back out of the backfield, not just one of them, but two of them, that adds another element to things that makes things a little more difficult for the defense. So I'm not going to give the edge to either one in this regard, in terms of the running back position. Tight end, honestly, who cares? But defensively speaking, I give the edge to Cleveland. That's a very good defense in Cleveland.
Agreed.
Very good.
And they just add Jadeveon Clowney too, right?
Yes. To go alongside opposite Myles Garrett, who is becoming a superstar in this league. They have one of the premier pass rushes in football this season. And a very good defense all around. Cleveland may be a better football team than Tennessee.
You just got to put it together. I mean...
And I'll tell you right now, they did last year. They were pretty damn good last year. I'll tell you right now, adding Julio Jones doesn't make a difference in my book.
I agree. I think that's what we're both getting at.
A receiver just doesn't have that much added value in terms of winning football games. Does it make it harder on the defense? Yes, absolutely. Because now there's two guys you really have to go after and cover that you didn't before. You can hear my dogs playing in the background, I'm sure. But Tennessee's still one of the premier AFC teams, no question.
Would you say there's a law of diminishing returns when it comes to receiver? Like, adding that first big receiver is actually an important step, but then after that, like, you're not getting that much better the more big receivers you add after that?
Yes, I actually think there is a bit of a law of diminishing return because you can only pass the ball so many times in a game. You know, you can't just throw the ball 100 times to you got to spread the ball around. And I think you'll see one player's numbers dip below what his averages are, or you may see someone not perform to what you expected because again, there's only so many times that you can throw the football in a game before one it gets picked up on. Teams just say, all right, we're going to start rushing three and put everybody in coverage. Or you go the other route and say, all right, let's all out blitz. Good luck. It just depends on the quarterback and your pass rush. But there is a law of diminishing return in that regard because of that. There's too many mouths to feed, so to speak. And in that regard, when it comes to pass catchers, there is such a thing as too much of a good thing.
Still trying to get the dogs to calm down?
Yes. I had to pick one up. They're going nuts.
They're like, bullshit, Nick. There's no law of diminishing return.
Oh, man. The joys of a home studio. The joys of working from home. That's something I've noticed this year and just in meetings in general, or not this year, but in the past year and a half, I should say, of how much the average work day in your meeting at work and how recording your podcast has changed, where just the things you hear now in people's background, the dogs barking, the birds outside, who knows, or that someone's spouse walking through the camera.
Well, the amount of times
hopefully clothed.
The amount of times when I'm on Zoom calls and one of my coworkers' kids will come on camera, like,
hi, Dad.
It happens all the time.
Hi, Mom. How many times has one of the kids gone up to the microphone and said hi?
Oh, all the time. It's not just hi. They'll start telling you about their day, like right away, without being prompted.
Oh, man. I don't think I've experienced that one in any of the meetings I've had. But that honestly probably would make my day.
Oh yeah,
Honestly,
it's fun.
to be a kid again would just be amazing. Just
And then you always have like the random dogs that get needy and try to
Yes.
hop on their owner while they're on the call. Like,
I am currently holding one as we speak. But so, anyways, I wanted to kind of bring this back around to the Lions and bring them into this.
yeah, it is a Detroit sports show after all.
Right. But two-part question here. Considering the need that the Lions have where a receiver and a premier receiver would very much help them out this year, and honestly for the next few years, granted we don't know how much longer Julio Jones has, but at least productively speaking, should the Lions have made a move to go after Julio Jones? Because not like they would have had to give up a first-round pick. A second and a fifth-round pick, I believe, is what the Titans gave up for him. Do you think the Lions should have potentially made a move to go after Julio Jones and add to this roster?
It would have been as pointless as that Mayweather-Logan Paul fight.
God, that was awful.
I mean, like, you think you're at, first of all, you're in the way I view it, at least, in the first year of a rebuild with the Lions, and you're adding a, 30-year-old wide receiver that you're going to be paying a crap ton of money to for the next 2 years. There's no point. He's going to be gone by the time you're ready to compete at any capacity. All he's going to do is just delay your rebuild more. Like, it's pointless. So no.
Do you think that adding a Julio Jones to this roster would have made the Lions automatically competing this year?
No, but it would have easily pushed your draft pick back maybe a couple picks at least. Their first round pick, I should say.
I kind of agree with that because while, yes, I do think as long as provided Julio stays healthy, I do think that it would have made the Lions a lot more exciting offensively speaking. I think they would have been able to stay in some games that this year they probably won't be able to.
Yeah, so I could see them pulling out an extra game or two.
But again, I don't think it's a situation, just like we said about the Titans, I don't think adding a receiver adds that much value to your roster where it turns a team that's projected to win 5 games right now, I believe, maybe 6. I don't think it turns them from a 5-win team to a 10 or 11-win team.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Because that's what it would probably take for them to be competing in the NFC North at this point. So I really don't think it'd be worth giving up draft capital, regardless of what it is, even if it is a second-round pick and a fifth-round pick. I'd rather keep the draft capital and continue to develop this roster and bring in young talent. Because Julio Jones is not young anymore, and he's not the picture of health.
No.
He's a guy who, in this trade, could set you back. Because not only would your first-round pick this upcoming year, your pick, turn from potentially and likely a top 3 pick, it potentially would end up being pushed back to maybe a top 5 or in the top 10 somewhere towards the back of it. It could end up being the 7th or 8th pick as opposed to the 3rd pick, and that would really hurt your rebuild.
I agree.
And not to mention, you're also giving up draft capital in the 2nd round and the 4th round or 5th round, wherever your other pick would have been to attach to it. So I don't think adding Julio Jones would have behooved the Lions and help the rebuild in any way. I think it would hurt it in a big way. Because what if they do want to go for a quarterback? I'll tell you right now, it's a hell of a lot easier to get one at number 2 or 3 than it is at number 7. Case in point, Look at this year.
Yes.
So now let's push this conversation down a few years. Say the Lions are in a similar position to the Tennessee Titans. They're a top 5-ish team in the NFC. They're competing. They're in the playoffs year in, year out. Is making a trade for a Julio Jones type receiver something you would want the Lions to do?
Quick question. In terms of our receiver core, do we have a top 2 receiver already before we were to get a Julio Jones type?
Let's say our receiving core is similar to what we had in like 2014, 2015 with Golden Tate and Marvin Jones. So you have 2 good receivers, but not necessarily a top tier to great receiver.
Okay, and in that case, like I said before, I feel like you do. It does help you to have one top tier receiver. The thing is, I never like paying $12.5 million or $11.5, whatever he's getting paid, to a 30-year-old wide receiver. That's like my hang up here. So, like, in theory, I like the idea of once you're about ready to compete, you're a top 5 team in the conference, going in a high end wide receiver to put you over. I just would hope that the receiver is not a 30-year-old wide receiver getting paid $12 million for the next 2 years. That's my thing. So, like, in terms of giving up a second round pick for a top tier wide receiver, I'm cool with that. If we're talking the very specifics of a 32-year-old Julio Jones, or a 32-year-old wide receiver getting paid $12 million a year, I'm probably going to pass on that specific. If we're going that specific, if we're going, would you give a second round pick for a top tier receiver? Then I would say yes.
So let me ask you this. Looking at Julio Jones' contract, this year his cap hit is $15.3 million.
Oh, more than I thought.
Next year, it's $11.5 million, and then the following year, it's $11.5 million as well.
That's right about where I was expecting. Okay.
However, after this season, there's a potential out with his contract that would then put a $2 million dead cap hit on your books next year. It would fall
when you
off
say
after
a
that.
potential out, are we talking about a player option or a team option?
I believe it's unguaranteed money. So it's a potential out 2022.
Okay. If I can get a potential out after 1 year, okay. Then I would do it.
I see. My argument is I would make this trade, especially if you had a receiving core like what we had in Marvin Jones and Golden Tate. I would make this trade, especially for a second and fifth round pick, even if the out was after the second year. Because I would argue that adding a guy like Julio Jones makes your window about 2 years with him. So maybe it would be worth it at that point to do the 2 years. Like, say he only had 2 years left on his contract, but it was a $14 million cap hit, and I had the space to bring it in, or I was willing to go above the cap if I'm able to find a way to do it. I'd do it if it was only for those 2 years. Now, in the second year, he's 33, so that may change some things. He probably isn't as productive. You would need someone to step up, but I'd be willing to do it in that regard because I have an out. It's only a couple of years. My window is now. And it's not going to be, I don't know if my window is going to be 3, 4, 5 years from now. I'm ready to win now. And I think that's what the Titans are kind of looking at, saying our window is right now. Derrick Henry's body can only take so many more hits.
Yeah, true. That's very true.
And A.J. Brown has already found his stride in the beginning of the prime of his career. Granted, he's still very young. But
he's still only 23.
Right. But he's found his stride early. It's time for us to strike now. While the iron is hot, we know we have a good team. Ryan Tannehill is playing the best football of his career. Time is now. And I think
my question is, how much faith do you have in a 22-year-old Julio Jones?
You mean 32?
Sorry, 32-year-old Julio Jones.
I think if the attention is off of him a little bit, like it would be with A.J. Brown there, I think he will probably end up being one of the top 2 to 3 number 2 receivers in football.
So you think he easily goes for 1,000 then? Assuming he stays healthy.
If he doesn't hit 1,000, I'll say he gets very, very close to, but I definitely think he looks like, I definitely think this is a year, provided he stays healthy, he hits 1,000 yards for sure.
He's only 2 years removed from that 1,700-yard season.
Right.
So.
It isn't that, granted, there is a big difference between a 30-year-old or 29, 30-year-old receiver and a 31-year-old receiver. But regardless, I think this is a year that he's got a really good shot to hit that 1,000, to reclaim that 1,000-yard season. And looking at the Tennessee Titans, I mean, Corey Davis had 984 yards last year. Corey Davis. And I know he had huge expectations coming into the league.
They have Corey Davis too.
I thought he went
Did he leave?
elsewhere. I thought he went elsewhere. Yeah, he's on the Jets now. So Julio effectively replaces Corey Davis. I definitely think Julio Jones can at the very least, match Corey Davis. And mind you, Corey Davis only played in 14 games and started in 12 last year and put up 984 yards. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Julio Jones, provided he stays healthy for at least 14 games, beats those numbers. Titans are trying to strike while the iron is hot and compete with the likes of the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah. I think they're saying Cleveland, we can compete. We could already compete with them. Buffalo, we could already compete with them. This is a move for the Tennessee Titans to compete with the Kansas City Chiefs with a high-octane, high-powered, big-time offensive football game plan.
And with that, we move it on to basketball. Unless you have anything else you wanted to cover there.
Nope, that pretty much did it.
All right, so we're going to do a quick buy or sell with some Pistons offseason predictions. Now, these predictions are courtesy of James Edwards of The Athletic. We have 4 here, so Nick, I'm just gonna throw out the prediction. You tell me buy or sell. If you want more detail on it, I have that too. To start off, I'll start off with a softball, not as juicy of a prediction.
Who did you say put this together?
James Edwards of The Athletic.
Okay.
There will be a shakeup to the coaching staff or the front office staff.
This offseason?
This offseason.
So, I think that there has not been more confidence in the coaching and the front office in this franchise amongst the fan base and the higher up brass since like 2004. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's ever been more confidence since the early 2000s in the mix of the front office and coaching staff in this organization.
Oh, I definitely say sell if we're talking front office staff, but we do. I don't think Troy Weaver made any changes to the coaching staff when he came in. He went basically Grim Reaper on the roster, but not on the coaching staff. But don't you think there's a chance he probably puts his imprint on the coaching staff? Now, I'm not saying like anyone like Dwayne Casey be gone, but like getting some assistants in or that he personally likes rather than what he inherited.
If there's any moves made, it's minor. And I think that Troy Weaver is a guy who allows the head coach, considering he is an experienced head coach in this league, to choose his assistants. I don't think Troy Weaver's going to say, you have to have this assistant. I don't. I think he's allowing Dwayne Casey to have carte blanche and choose who he has on his bench with him. And I believe that if Troy Weaver didn't believe in this coaching staff coming in, he would have made the change already. He did it with the roster. Why wouldn't he have done it with the coaching staff if he didn't believe in them? He showed he didn't believe in the roster. He showed he was going to make a change. Clearly, he believes in the coaching staff because he kept them. And I think that they did look at what the Pistons did this year. Look at the way that the young players developed and played. What's there not to like with the coaching staff? And I think Troy Weaver sees that as well this year, this offseason. And I don't see a reason for him to shake it up. Not yet. Not until it comes to a point where, all right, this team should be winning now, and we're not. That's when you shake it up.
I'll agree with that. Number 2. Now, this is more of a just having a feeling on something rather than any logic going behind this buy or sell. But Pistons will get a top 3 pick in the 2021 NBA draft.
Oh.
I hope.
Yeah. Of course I want to say, hell yeah, we're going to have number 1. But, this is Detroit. We always get screwed. The Wings didn't get screwed. They stayed put, which, honestly, I'd be ecstatic if the Pistons stayed put. But
one of the things he says is, like, if not now, when? And I'm like, never.
Never. After Darko, we've been banned from having a top 3 pick. No, I of course, I want to sit here and tell you, yes, I think the Pistons will end up as a top 3 pick, and yes, I want to say that. But the NBA always likes to shake it up and put a weird team in the top 3 that does not belong there, which is why they need to get rid of the damn lottery.
And it's not so much the lottery itself as the fact that, like, how widespread it is, like, where there should be no reason the Detroit Pistons being the second worst team in the league, their best odds are to get 5th.
Right. I think they should structure it. If you're doing a lottery, you should structure it where you can't fall more than 3 spots. And for 1, and 2, your best odds should be to land the pick where you finished.
Yeah.
Like if you're the second worst team in the league, your best odds should be to go figure the number 2 overall pick.
I would agree.
So I want to pause real quick and go back to the previous question. Do you think that there should be a shakeup in the coaching staff?
No, I don't think there should be. My whole devil's advocate approach was Troy Weaver went scorched earth on the roster last offseason, but he didn't really touch the coaching staff or anything like that. So like there's an argument to be made that not because of performance or anything, but the fact that Troy Weaver wanted to make his imprint on the coaching staff. And that's not even talking high ups. I'm just talking like assistants. But
fair enough. But I just think that if it was going to happen, it would have already happened, one. Mm-hmm. Two, I also think that unless there's a reason to say that a change needs to be made, like players not developing, then there's really no reason to make a change until this team is ready to start winning. That's going to be when you look to make a coaching staff change, is when this team should be winning and they're not yet. But until then, there's no reason to make a change just yet.
But yeah, on the draft pick thing, I'm just gonna put the good vibes out.
Yes,
and try
we are.
To will it to happen.
Yes,
I buy.
We're gonna get the number 1 or number 2 overall pick right here, right now.
All right, number 3. This is where it starts to get a little more fun. Detroit will do everything it can within reason to bring back Hamidou Diallo.
I buy that. I think Troy Weaver brought this guy in for a reason. He helped scout him in OKC. He obviously liked him then. He still likes him now, and Hamidou Diallo proved that he can play. Mm-hmm. I have no reason to believe that Troy Weaver's just going to let him walk. He brought him here for a reason, and he wants to keep him, and there's good reason to keep him. So yes, the Pistons should do pretty much whatever they can within reason to bring this guy back, and I think he's going to. Yep. I buy that. I
think he really impressed me in a lot of games this season, and I do think he gets just a little bit more consistent with that jumper. He already shot it fairly well this season, but he gets a little more consistent with that jumper. He's a bona fide NBA starter, and that's not a guy you just let walk at 22 years old.
Hell no.
So I agree that I think Troy Weaver brought him in for a reason. I thought I brought him for a steal, and I think he does what he can to lock him up.
I think Diallo's got the upside where you could be looking at a guy that potentially is a piece that you build around. He's got the potential there. We've just got to bring it out of him.
Well, not to get you excited, but so James Edwards did a per 36 comparison with, and I'm gonna say for now,
per 36s are the biggest BS stat ever.
I know,
but I love them because they get me so excited about the most random players. Like, oh, did you see Boban's per 36?
So here's Diallo's per 36 at 22 years old compared to unnamed player for now at 22 years old. Diallo 17.7 points per game compared to 18.1. Diallo 8 rebounds per game compared to 5.9. Diallo 3 assists per game compared to 1.9. Diallo 1.2 steals per game compared to 1.3. 0.7 blocks per game compared to 0.6. Diallo 47.7% field goal percentage compared to 46.5. Diallo 34.1 3-point percentage compared to 34.4. Super similar shooting splits. 64.7% free throw versus 65.8%. So like really similar across the board.
Better from the line.
Yeah, super similar to this player across the board, except he rebounds a little more efficiently. Any guesses as to who the other player is? I'll give you what the other player's age is currently, just to give you to narrow it down.
Because I feel like that could literally be anybody.
He's currently 24.
So this is literally just 2 years ago. All right. Mm-hmm. It's not Devin Booker, is it?
The other player's per 36 again, 18.1 points, 5.9 boards, 1.9 assists, 1.9 steals, half a block, 46.5 field goal percentage, 34 3-point percentage, 65% from the line.
It's not Devin Booker, is it?
No.
Player's currently 24, so that was as 2 years ago at 22.
Plays the same position as Diallo. Huh?
Plays the same position as Diallo. Okay. Who the hell is 24 years old and puts up those numbers? I'm trying to think here. I don't know. All right, give me another hint. East or West?
East Coast, and there's a lot of trade rumors swirling around him this offseason.
Oh, interesting. Who the hell have I heard trade rumors about?
Let's see, 6'6", 223.
6'6", 223. So it's not Tatum.
No, but you're really close.
Jaylen Brown?
Yep.
Okay, all right, I'll take that. Hell yeah, I like Jaylen
Brown. But yeah, no, that was just for fun. That's not trying to say.
If he turns into Jaylen Brown, hell yeah.
All right, this is the most fun of the predictions. The Pistons will have 2 first-round picks in the 2021 NBA draft. Just a reminder, they have 3 second-round picks this year, and then their first-round pick. So basically what Edwards is saying is Troy Weaver is going to find a way with those 3 seconds and maybe even a player to sneak into the back of the first round.
I'm going to buy that. Troy Weaver loves to make draft day trades, as we saw last year. I'm going to buy that. He wants to continue to add young talent to this roster. I have no reason to believe that he doesn't, because that's been his MO. Even into this season, bringing in guys like Dennis Smith Jr. and Hamidou Diallo, he wants to continue to add young talent. Best way to do that is through the draft. And so I definitely think that Troy Weaver's going to try to spin some second-round picks into another first-round pick this year. So I'm going to buy.
Yeah. Knowing Troy, you can't give him that much ammo and expect him to make 3 second-round picks. I feel like you give him that kind of ammo, he's going to find a way back into the back of the first. And I'll even go as far as to say I even if it's on the back of the first, I do expect him to probably move a couple of those seconds maybe for a future pick. I don't see a need to make 3 second-round picks in general.
Right. Not to mention, don't sleep on the possibility of him trading a younger, rostered under contract talent for another pick, like he did last year.
That's possible as well.
I'm looking at one guy in particular that is under contract on a cheap deal who actually had a pretty solid season for the most part. Josh Jackson. I think is a guy that you could potentially look at the Pistons possibly trading on draft day to get another pick. So I think there's going to be a team interested in him. He's cheap, and he's got a lot of value.
And I'd be supportive if it lands you a first-round pick.
Hell yeah. Do I think he's worth that? Probably not, but
no.
I definitely think that maybe there's potential to package him in.
Then again, I didn't think Kennard was worth that either. But
True. Another guy you could possibly look at as being a draft day casualty, Mason Plumlee. There's another guy you can look at as potentially a draft day casualty involved in a trade to add draft capital. So the Troy Weaver's got some ammo to play with to try to grab another first-round pick. So I definitely think he's going to get it done.
I will say the Mason Plumlee contract probably makes it a little bit harder to move him for a first.
2 years, average of $8.5 million. It ain't that bad.
Oh, I thought he was going to pay more than that. Okay,
no.
I'm wrong.
I can get you the exact figures. He's got 2 years left on the deal, I believe. Yeah, so, 2 years left on the deal. Average under $8.5 million. Average about 8.3.
Last question before we move on to the Tankathon. Would you go so far as to say you'd be disappointed if Weaver stayed put with those second-round picks in this draft?
Yeah, a little bit. Yes and no. I'm going to say no because we saw what he could do with a second-round pick in... I'm drawing a blank on his name. Saban Lee. We saw what he could do with a second-round pick in Saban Lee. So he knows how to find talent. This year still is another year where we didn't get the greatest scouting, so you're still going to find some talent deeper in this draft than you normally would. But yes, I'll be disappointed because you got a lot of ammo to move, and I do want you to get the best talent possible in this draft. And frankly, adding 3 second-round picks to this roster, one, how many of them factor into the future? Probably one
how many can you even keep on the roster?
Right, probably none to one. Versus first-round picks, you can argue that they're probably going to be hinged on this future. Yeah. So I probably would be pretty disappointed because of that. I want guys that are going to be on this roster and playing and being a part of our future. Even if it is a mid to late first, that's a depth guy. We need those too, and it's nice when they're young and cheap.
Agreed. All right. Let's close it out as we've been doing with a lottery sim.
All right, let's do it. Don't break my heart this time.
We've had really bad luck.
Yes, we have.
Have we gotten the top 3 yet?
I don't even think we've hit the top 4 yet.
We did after we said we're not leaving until we got the top 4 last week.
Okay, that was cheating though.
Well, we cheated for it. I'm talking about on our first sim. On the way this sim was intended. One sim, one pick.
I don't think we've been inside the top 4.
All right, here we go.
We've been 5 and 6, if I recall.
Pistons
still not there.
New Orleans moves up number 9. Why is it always New Orleans?
I don't know.
They move up 9 spots, number 1, second year in a row. Which I really think we had this exact same scenario last week.
Do you think New Orleans would get the first overall pick 2 years in a row? Because I don't.
Cleveland did it.
Yeah, but that was because LeBron
They got
left.
it 3 years out of 4.
That's because LeBron left, though. That was a gift. That was an I'm sorry your hero left you. There isn't that situation here in New Orleans.
But Minnesota moves up 4 spots, number 2.
And they
Houston
keep their
gets
pick.
pushed- Yep. Houston gets pushed down 2 spots, number 3. Chicago moves up 4 spots to 4. And Detroit moves down 3 spots to number 5.
Pretty much everybody else moves down 3 spots until you get to pick number 9.
Yep. Let's just say 1 through 4 is Cade through Suggs. Cade, Green, Mobley, Suggs.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. When it comes to a guy like Kuminga, would you say the upside in the position he plays, it's too valuable to justify passing on him at 5?
Yes, and yeah, probably, but just because I don't know that there's necessarily another player that I would put in that tier.
Yeah.
Because I'm not quite sure Davion Mitchell falls in that tier. Or I think Kuminga is in that second to third tier by himself.
Yeah.
You know, where we've got the top 4 guys in that S tier to A plus tier. Kuminga's in that B tier alone.
Yeah,
And I think everybody else falls in that C tier.
He's got that S tier, A tier upside. It's just he's not there. He's still very raw.
Right.
So again, at 5, I struggle to justify, as much as I want to say take a guy like Davion Mitchell or take a guy like James Bouknight, I struggle to justify not taking Kuminga unless you're trading back.
Right. If you trade back, then I'd go for a guy like James Bouknight or Davion Mitchell, someone along those lines, or even Moses Moody. Like, it makes sense to take those guys if you were to trade back. Even just a couple of spots. But if you're at 5 and you're not making a trade, then you take Kuminga. If one of the top 4 guys on our draft board isn't there, which not likely.
Yeah, I'd agree.
So we still have taken Kuminga at 5 for the past, I think, 3 times now. Can we move somewhere else?
Tankathon's trying to tell us something.
I hope that they're wrong. Oh, we like this. We did it again.
The number 1 pick goes to the Detroit Pistons.
All right,
so I think
Cade Cunningham,
we take
Green.
Bouknight. I think we take Bouknight
I like
here.
Davion Mitchell number 1. No, Cade Cunningham or Jalen Green.
You know, it's Cade. Come on, it's
all right. Fair enough. I mean,
Cade.
there's a lot of talk about Jalen Green being the number 1.
I agree, and
for good reason.
For very good reason. It's Jalen Green might be the best fit on the roster of all the picks.
Might be,
but I just cannot pass up the high floor, high upside, basically barely any weakness to his game of Cade Cunningham.
I don't disagree. Are you at all a little bit scared of it being an Andrew Wiggins type situation?
No, because he has a higher basketball IQ than Andrew Wiggins. He has higher effort level than Andrew Wiggins, which were 2 big knocks on Andrew Wiggins coming in.
Yes.
And 2 knocks I chose to completely ignore.
Because guys that were passed up in that draft by the Cavs were Jabari Parker, obviously, but he didn't work out. Joel Embiid, which is
what a top 2, Jabari Parker and Andrew Wiggins. I know,
and then you've got Joel Embiid, Aaron Gordon, and then you go Dante Exum, Marcus Smart, which Exum, Marcus Smart,
a terrible draft.
Good, but not great. Actually, it's not terrible.
It's a terrible draft.
I mean, it's not great, but
Embiid is a great name coming out of that draft.
Julius Randle, another great name.
Finally broke out.
It's been a long time coming, but yes, he's a monster now.
Yeah.
You have Zach LaVine in that draft taking number 13, another guy who really broke out this year. Yusuf Nurkic was in this draft. He's a guy who's honestly come on really well. Clint Capella was in this draft. Bogdan Bogdanovic late in the first. So, I mean, there's some talent in this draft. I mean, sure, you have like really high-end talent, a few guys right in the middle, and then you have straight duds the rest of the way. Nikola Jokic was in this draft.
If you guys are wondering how the you said what?
Nikola Jokic was in this draft.
Yeah, he was what, 52 or something? 41. If you guys wonder how the rest of that top 5 shook out, if Detroit got moved up 1 spot for the first pick, OKC moves up 2 spots for number 2. Houston moves down 2 spots for number 3. Orlando moves down 1 spot for 4. Cleveland stays put at 5 for the 5th pick. Minnesota loses their pick to Golden State at 6.
Chicago loses their pick at 8 to Orlando as well. Yep. So that's rough for both of those teams because Chicago could use another young talent to really add to that roster, and Minnesota losing that pick is just, oh God. That's just that if you ever wanted to see a situation where somebody who's already beaten to the ground gets kicked down even further, it's Minnesota losing their pick this year to Golden State.
Hey, you know what? They were really stupid for deciding to start winning games at the end of the season.
Yes, they were. They absolutely deserve it.
Oh my God! The Timberwolves subreddit was so fun.
I wish I would have checked that out. I didn't even think of doing that.
They were having a meltdown at the end of the season.
Do you blame them? I would have melted down if the Pistons started doing that. But the Pistons pulled off the ultimate tank job at the end. It was beautiful.
Oh yeah,
it was beautiful how good their tank job was.
All right. So I'm not gonna do another sim. I'm gonna close it out on that note. Make me happy.
Absolutely. I'd love Cade Cunningham. I'd love to have the option of Cade Cunningham and Jalen Green. Having that option would just be amazing.
And there literally be no way I'd be upset like I would not be stressing at all going to the draft.
No.
Nothing would happen unless we did something colossally stupid to make me upset during the draft.
If they took like Jalen Suggs, number 1 overall, I'd probably be pretty pissed. Do I like Jalen Suggs? Yes. But is he as good as Jalen Green or Cade Cunningham? No.
I would just be shocked if that happened.
I would too. So, but that is going to close it out this week unless you have anything else to add.
Nope, that's everything I got.
All right, guys. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. Follow us on Twitter at RealFanReport. Thank you to Detroit Sports Podcast. And Andrew, thank you for joining me. We will catch you guys next week. This has been the Fan Reporters by fans.
For fans.
Have a good one, guys. Enjoy the rest of your week and weekend. And we will see you guys later. Peace out.
Peace.